It means we're mysterious, it means we're dynamic, and we're far more intelligent than we realize. So, as I think Timothy has really pointed out, you really can't create this dichotomy between the emotions or the emotional mind and the brain as an organ. So those two are very important parts together. And when that happens, that means that there's three things that are happening, from my point of view as a hypnotherapist, that happen in the physical organ. And there's your thinking brain, there's your acting brain, and there's your feeling brain. And the way that translates in an emotional context is that you may think about something and have a thought about something. After that thought happens, that can trigger an emotion and a feeling. And without realizing it, you've already said something or behaved in a particular way to a person because of those dynamics. And when that happens, we reinforce our belief systems or our patterns, and we carry on in a loop without even realizing it. So the neurons, they're an important part of our anatomy. Interestingly, we have 100 billion neurons that sit in our brain. We have 40,000 synapses that fire, that create that chemistry in our mind. They're very important. And those neural networks help us to be who we are. And what's really interesting about this is when you take 100 billion neurons and you times it by 40,000 synapses, that is the equivalent of the same amount of stars that we have in our galaxy. That is a huge amount of neural networks that we have in our brain and the capacity at which we have the potential to operate. Okay, so that's like taking the galaxy and shoving it into your head. So if you can think about it that way. But what does it mean? It still means that that organ only computes at 20% of our body's energy. And if we have to take debatable, the scientific rule of thumb, that we only use 10% of our brain, what does that mean? It literally means that there are people out there that literally have their head above the water. And what we see is the proverbial iceberg. It's that 10% of the 90% that we don't understand or don't realize